And so we have gone from the lab side of the ecosystem to the life science side of the ecosystem, along the lines of clinical trials and certainly data standards, in covering these important issues, a lot of the nuanced issues that you don't read about every day, in how to drive access and equity in healthcare, in tackling everything from the remote to the absolute core of these issues. And so we have now with us to talk about it to the health plan side. Again, another perspective for you all, the HITLAB community, the Columbia Business School community. Another perspective here in understanding this is the health plan perspective around what is driving equity and access through value-based care. And one of the national experts in this area is Nora Dennis from North Carolina Blue Cross Blue Shield. Hi, Nora, how are you? And I think Nora's just signing in and getting online.
Hi there. Sorry about that. I am doing quite well. How are you?
I am good. I'm good. So for folks that don't know you, and for folks who are not familiar with your background, if you could just give a 1 minute or so background on your personal journey into the world of North Carolina Blue Cross Blue Shield and certainly value-based care.
Absolutely. So I am a physician. I am a psychiatrist and also board certified in addiction medicine, and spent quite a while working in clinical medicine and loving it and loving my patients, and at the same time feeling a sense of frustration about all of the factors that were impacting people's lives and their ability to get well, and how many of those we really weren't able to address. And so I think that really led me to want to move into the payer space and want to move into working for an insurance company that was really committed to investigating and understanding how we could do a better job of improving healthcare in order to really move the needle on equity, on behavioral health, on overall thriving for our members. And so I've been at Blue Cross for a little over 1.5 years now.
Okay, that's interesting, and I think that does help people understand a little bit about your journey and how you got to where you are today. And again, as the lead medical director in the area of behavioral health and health equity at Blue Cross Blue Shield of North Carolina, I think the audience would love to hear more about that role and about how some of those efforts that you've led are impacting equity and access in North Carolina and those member populations there.
Absolutely. I think that one of the things that feels so important to emphasize for me is that we have to build out structural components in our organizations to really prioritize equity in everything we do and to have solid governance of those efforts. So while we have these programmatic focuses on our race, ethnicity, language data collection, on our maternity equity, and on our behavioral health equity, for me, it really starts with organizational listening and a commitment to really hearing the voices of the people who are going to be impacted by the work that you do. And so for us in maternal health, that meant starting with focus groups from Black birthing people in North Carolina and understanding their lived experiences, and then also disseminating those learnings to other payers. And so we had women telling us their experiences of feeling incredibly marginalized and unheard in their birthing journey, that they felt so unsafe that they really equated their experience of going into the hospital as being equivalent to that of a Black man who was stopped in traffic and interacting with law enforcement, and that they had a real need to find a provider, a healthcare provider, who would work with them without bias, and that it was a lot of work to do that. And so people were delaying initiating prenatal care because not necessarily because they were busy, but because the actual work that they had to do to initiate prenatal care and feel safe was more work. And so then our strategy has to stem forth from those learnings. And we also have to continue to have oversight of our work by a really committed group of Black mothers within Blue Cross who look at what we do and make sure that it's aligning strategically. And so we're starting that outreach work, we're starting that health coaching work, but it takes longer to start if we want to make sure that we're listening and orienting towards the needs of the communities that we're trying to support.
That's brilliant. That is really so important. And what can the health plan and the hospital communities do to help enhance this, to help really make this a bigger priority on a day-to-day basis?
I think payers have tremendous power to bring focus to equity as a critical component of quality. And I'm sure a lot of folks here read this JAMA paper back in January from Shantanu Nundy, and he said quality improvement without equity is a hollow victory. Quality improvement efforts without a focus on disparity reduction may have limited effects on health disparities and in fact unintentionally worsen them. So I sort of read that and thought to myself, who actually has the power to look at the data and make sure that doesn't happen? And who has the power to tie equitable outcomes to reimbursement and make it just part of how we provide healthcare? And undoubtedly, the payers are the ones with that power. And I would say even with that responsibility. And if we have clarity around our potential and clarity around our responsibility, then it becomes quite incumbent upon us to really do that work as payers.
That's right. Without a doubt, that is absolutely critical. And it has to be thought about. And it has to be intentional. It's not something that happens necessarily organically, and it really is critical there. And I think one of the things that has been taking the healthcare system by storm over the last 20 years has been value-based care. And we're seeing this being adopted by more and more healthcare systems and health plans around the country. Are you seeing that as something that's helping promote equity and access, or is that actually distracting us from the core issue of equity and access?
Oh, I think we can definitely use value-based care and should be using value-based care as one of the tools in the toolbox to drive health equity, because what it to me is about is combining our priorities and our patients' needs and really contractualizing that to drive action and have payment models that truly support clinical excellence for all. And so for us, we have a focus on provider readiness in our value-based care agreements, but that extends to equity. And so if we take a focus on readiness and we have an equity perspective around that, then what we can do is have a functional glide path to accountability for equitable outcomes within an attributed population for an ACO. So in order to do that, the building blocks, right, we need to have reliable reporting on inequities. So we need to have solid data and agreement about that data with our provider partners. And then we have to have reporting for them on clinical performance and support for addressing those inequities with a glide path to upside opportunities for closing equity gaps. And I think when we frame it in that way, there's really unmitigated enthusiasm from providers about the ability to link equity to their quality performance in the context of value-based payment, because they want to do this work. And a lot of them are investing in this work within their own health systems. And this gives them a way to really support those programmatic and personnel investments in equitable outcomes. And I think that is where the sort of really sweet spot is for us.
That's fantastic. Any parting comments before we say goodbye?
I just thank you for having me here today. I feel like I could talk about this stuff all day. It's such an inspiration to just try to really take this from sort of concept to implementation and actually see change happening.
Yeah, and I think that is giving us hope as we see digital and in some areas getting widened further through access and equity, and this is hopefully an area where digital is actually closing the gap in equity and access. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just a terrific presentation from Nora. Thank you, Nora, for joining us. And we have just a number of different programs around improving access and equity. One of them is at the Columbia Business School Digital Health Program, where one of the cornerstones of the digital health introduction to digital health and digital strategy is around the access and equity components, and certainly making sure that diversity and inclusion is included in that. So again, today only we have, and they've dropped the information in the chat box for you to sign up for the program for today only at a significantly 95% discounted rate of $499 for a CBS enrollment certification instead of $5,400. We would love to have you join us and be a part of that program. Again, it's live, it's virtual, it's online. It includes some of Columbia's top professors who are teaching us about some of the biggest techniques being used for digital transformations, as well as some of the leading industry experts, including a half-day session with McKinsey on how to develop your own digital health strategy. So again, if you would like to, if you look at the Zoom chat box now, you'll see a link. And if you go to that link and use that discount code, you should be able to enroll. If not, if you don't have any success, just email me and I will help you get through that process, or link in as well. And we also have Breakthrough One. Again, Judy Keene and many of the other members that you've seen today are part of the HITLAB Breakthrough One program. And again, it's a way to help elevate and amplify your brand in the healthcare ecosystem through not only accelerating network and exclusive introductions, but also being able to access industry trends in digital health. And you also get transcripts from programs like these on a regular basis, including the slides that we're using, et cetera. And different people are presenting, and you are able to really expand your knowledge and your presence in digital health through this exciting Breakthrough One program that Jerry Antomato and his team have put together for you. And so you have a number of different options for this. You can go for the $99 per year subscription, or the $4.99, the $9.99, or the $19.99 for general, professional, executive, or global. And again, if you have any questions about that, do just put your name in the chat box here, and Jerry will follow up with you on the Breakthrough One memberships. And this is an exciting time to be talking about healthcare access and equity, given all of the changes that are occurring, and given this is a chance that we have to truly make a difference as we're seeing the healthcare infrastructure change from analog to digital, from phone and paper to computer-based and swipe screen and voice interaction. And so that's very exciting for everyone, I certainly know in this audience. And we want to make sure you can continue to talk about this after the symposium today. So we have, again, another Zoom link that has been dropped into the chat box in your session. Take a look at that and join us afterwards for another hour of networking and discussions around equity and access, where it's more of an open discussion and free-form discussion for you to be able to share ideas and learn more ideas about what's actually happening in the ecosystem around the healthcare world here.